Did you know that 62% of real estate agents have actually left the business? Despite this fact, today's guest is actually having her best year ever as a real estate broker. And she's going to explain why. It all comes down to adding value to your audience. Today, we sit down with Nicole Handy, who is one of the top real estate agents and brokers in the Houston market. And she shares why adding value is so beneficial if you want to stand out and build a personal brand. She also shares how she got started in real estate, making that transition from corporate America as a chemical engineer to now running her own brokerage firm in the Houston market. If you're looking to scale your portfolio and to stand out as an entrepreneur, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Check it out right here on Multifamily Insights. When you think you found a great deal, asking the right questions could be the difference in finding a stud or a dud. Listen, we've put together a new guide to help you out. It's called 7 Questions You Must Ask Before Investing in Apartments. Now, in this guide, you're going to learn how to uncover red flags, quickly identify underwriting risk, vet sponsors and team members, and confirm key assumptions. Now, this is a guide that's going to help you be a better investor, whether you're an active investor or you're a passive investor looking to partner with other operators. Asking better questions is the key to identifying great opportunities. So download this free guide. Go to our website, casmoncapital.com/7 questions. That's the number 7 questions. And you can access this free guide today. To make it easy on you, though, we've put a link in our show notes. So you go to the show notes, you can click that link and access the guide right now. This guide's going to help you make better investment choices, asking the right questions to build your portfolio. So be sure to download it today. Now, Nicole Handy is a dynamic entrepreneur and real estate powerhouse, bringing a unique blend of engineering precision and entrepreneurial spirit to her role at Braden Real Estate Group. Now, with a background in engineering and a passion for challenge, Nicole transitioned from a distinguished career in corporate America to real estate, quickly rising to become one of Houston's top producing realtors. Let's welcome to the show, Nicole Handy.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to chat with you, a fellow former corporate America person turned into real estate. It's always exciting to hear a little more about that. I went over your background at a very, very high level, though. Why don't you take
Okay.
2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
No, absolutely. So I graduated from Prairie View A&M University. I like to say the Prairie View A&M University because I feel like there's no other like Prairie View. But with a chemical engineering degree. And so I spent about 11 years in corporate America before I transitioned out of corporate America into full-time entrepreneurship. My transition started with me actually investing in real estate as a real estate investor. Um, then a full-time real estate sales professional as well as the co-owner of a real estate brokerage. So I kind of had a happy transition into real estate across a few spectrums. um, but yeah, so I co-own Braden Real Estate Group with my first cousin. So we are very much so indeed a family owned and operated business. We're going on 6 years. We have about 75 agents here in the Houston office, and we have a few in Dallas. So we are full service residential and commercial brokerage that services Texas. That's kind of me in a nutshell, you know. Like you said, I've established my footprint in Houston real estate here. I honestly didn't think it would take off the way that it did, but I am very grateful, extremely thankful, and I think I've worked extremely hard to see that happen.
Nicole, I love to hear that, right? Great transition for you. And it's one that I think it's a journey that a lot of our listeners would love to emulate. You know, you talked about being in corporate America, transitioning first as an investor, then as a real estate sales associate, and then finally launching your own brokerage firm, now with 75 agents underneath you and kind of growing and doing your thing out in the Texas market, both in Houston and in Dallas. Talk to us about kind of that initial transition, right? Because you're a chemical engineer. I'm imagining you're doing well. You're in high demand. Why did you decide to start investing in the first place?
You know, um, it's a funny thing. I always saw the people before me in my family investing in real estate. You know, I just honestly thought that was one of the things that you do. My grandparents were heavily investing in real estate, buying up several properties in the Northeast Houston area. I've only seen them. All of their businesses were associated with real estate, from owning multifamily, owning commercial spaces, owning and operating daycare facilities, washateries, and things like that. But if you kind of think about it, it all starts with the piece of real estate, right? And so from there, just seeing my grandparents, invest heavily in real estate, seeing my parents do it, I just honestly thought that that's was what you were supposed to do. That is how gain generational wealth and how you continue to grow your wealth and pass your wealth down. I just honestly thought that that was what you were supposed to be doing. So um, it started off for me, very early out of college, just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go buy me a ring house." It all started with one home, and I tell the story all the time. It started with one piece of property. Um, I bought a property. After I bought the property, I rented it out. I put a rent sign in the yard and went back home to live with my parents for about 5 more years. Right? And all the while I'm working in corporate America, right? And then so after 5 years, the taxes just went astronomically high in the property. And I'm like, hey, this doesn't make sense for me to have as a rental property anymore. And so I was like, I'm going to sell this piece of property. And again, this was me just kind of not knowing what I was doing because I had a real estate license at the time, but I was very active in my corporate career. So real estate was just like just honestly almost like a hobby. Something I did on the side. I may have sold 1 or 2 homes a year, but I said, okay, I'm going to sell this rent house. I sold that rent home and I made more cash off the sale than I paid for the property. Okay. And so that right there taught me the true law of owning, appreciating asset and how powerful real estate can be. And that one piece of property really helped me to sell from that one property, which I feel like I never should have sold. If I think back to it, I would have never sold it, right? Never sold it. But anyway, I did. You learn as you go, right? But that one piece of property allowed me to get 4 more properties.
I love
And
it.
so
Yeah.
that's when I truly understood what real estate investing in real estate could do and how powerful it was. So then from there, I got curious, right? I'm like, I can keep doing this. I can keep doing this. And so all the while I was investing in real estate, I was in my corporate career. Then it just honestly got a little bit too much. And I'll be honest, and real estate investing is can be very time intensive, especially if you were like me at the time. I didn't have a full real estate investing company. I was just an individual investing in real estate. It can be very time intensive. So I was just kind of looking for the best way to use my time in real estate. And so I went on the on market side. So while I was actively in corporate America, I was very much so an active real estate agent. And it's funny because I said I would have 2 computers at my desk in corporate America. I would have my work computer, my corporate computer, and my real estate computer. And I would literally sit there and go back and forth all day. But it got overwhelming. Um, I started using social media to get myself out there, create my brand, build my brand, create awareness to who I was, and most importantly, educate the masses. I said, I'm just going to educate whoever would listen to me. And it got overwhelming. I could no longer keep up with real estate and my corporate career. And I had in terms of income, I had literally doubled and tripled my corporate salary through real estate. So I was like, okay, now it's time to give this up. I am consistently, when I saw that I was consistently making more income in real estate than I was in my corporate career, I had already built out most of my processes and systems. I had a good flow before I left. And that's when I walked away.
Nicole, you just laid out the handbook of how to
Yeah.
do this, right? I mean, that is the quintessential playbook every real estate investor wants to know because if you've got a great corporate job, work that, build your side hustle. While you're building that side hustle, create the systems, create the processes, and eventually you'll get to the point where you're making enough money from the side
Absolutely.
hustle where you can make that full-time transition. And even if you're not to the point where you're making money already or making enough money right now, you can see how, taking your time and
Yes.
focusing on real estate as opposed to splitting that
Hmm.
time will allow you to get there faster. So
Hmm.
that is the dream for many of our listeners. So I really appreciate you sharing your journey and your story. And I want to go back to a couple of things, right? So for you, this was something that you just thought everyone does, right? Like
Right.
you had the pleasure or the privilege of growing up with grandparents and family members who invest in real estate. And some of our listeners may not have that privilege, right? But here's the deal. Once you know, you know. And if you're listening to our conversation right now, you already know. So it's not about really where you start and how you initially get exposed to it. It's about understanding that this is a powerful tool that so many people have used for generations to create and sustain wealth for themselves and their families. And that's exactly what you were able to do. And to take that a step further, if you were someone who was not exposed to this as a child, well, imagine being the grandparent that gets to
Hmm.
expose the next generation, that gets to lay
Absolutely.
the foundation of how we think as a family unit. Like that is a powerful thing where we talk about legacy and wealth. a lot of times when we talk about the monetary aspect of it versus really setting the tone for what the expectation is for you and your family. So I love the fact that your grandparents were able to do that for all of you all starting out, and how you took your chemical engineering degree. You didn't rest on those laurels. I mean, most people would be like, I'm sure you were making really good money as a chemical engineer. You could have been just happy with that, but you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
grinding and hustling. You talked about two computers, right? You're over there with your work computer. You got your real estate computer. You're doing deals. I mean, how many hours were you working at that time?
I would say I think about maybe 80 hours a week. Now, you know what I did? One thing I will say too, I'm thankful for my corporate career because a lot of people walk away out on and just step out on faith. I didn't approach it like that. I leveraged the income that I was making from my corporate career to build my real estate business. So it was times that I was not making any money in real estate, but still building upon that foundation. But I still had that corporate income as my solid background. And I think a lot of people get into the real estate industry and get out very quickly, all because they don't have any income. Most of real estate is commission based or sale based business. You don't get paid until you sell a property, until you close on a deal or something to that nature. It's the same thing. So, I always tell people if you have a corporate career, use it to your wholly advantage. Leverage those funds that you're making from your corporate career to build your real estate business before you walk away.
Yeah, I love that. You're spot on, right? That's the way to do it so you can alleviate some of those concerns and risk and cash flow situations. And you
Right.
mentioned that you had your real estate license kind of even before you did that first deal. What sparked you to get your license so early?
You know what? Honestly, because I bought the first home that I bought, that rental property that I told you about, I purchased that property and did not know what the heck I had just did. I was a young professional. I had good credit and I had income. I had the down payment and I had the closing costs to be able to afford the home. Thank God I had a great husband and wife team. The wife was a realtor, the husband was the mortgage lender, really looking out for my best interest. But I had no clue what I had just did. And I'm one of those people where if I don't know something and I want to know more, I'm gonna go get educated on it. So I'm like, hey, why don't I just go get a real estate license? And funny thing is, my grandparents, being in real estate and understanding what real estate did, when I told them I wanted to get a real estate license, they actually gave me the tuition to go to real estate school. So, they paid for our my real estate school, and then essentially they ended up paying for all the grandchildren to go to real estate. But it started with me. It started with me and my first cousin on the brokerage. But yeah, I didn't know what I had just did, and I wanted to get educated in it. Again, I thought that real estate was the key and the tool to building wealth. And I realized that I can leverage my real estate license to help me in my real estate investing journey. A lot of times that when I was looking for good investing deals, I would win because when I found people that were selling their properties, I would say, "Hey, I don't want the commission. You don't have to pay me commission. I'd rather take the better deal." So that helped me beat out a lot of the competition and to get these properties, some of these distressed properties at an even better, at a lower price because I would forego the commission.
Nicole, again, more just little nuggets, man. I mean, like one, that is a powerful insight that a lot of folks don't know. But if you are trying to compete, if you have the ability to waive the commission and not get the buyer's commission, that allows you to stand out, whether you're going direct to the owner or you're working with another broker, because now that broker gets to keep that entire commission. Well, guess what? They're going to be way more happy to work with you than the person where they got to
Absolutely.
split that commission with, right? So, I
Mhm.
mean, obviously there's ethics and all that stuff involved, but the truth of the matter is it's about relationships. And if you can create a deal with someone where it helps them, they're going to be more likely to want to work with you. And you talked about, a couple things keep coming up, right? And one is family. And again, a lot of people who want to get into real estate, maybe even multifamily or scaling that portfolio, they want to do it because they want to create more time with their family. They want to create
Right.
a legacy. They want to create generational wealth. And you're talking about the impact it has, not just from a financial and monetary standpoint, but how it sets the tone. You were able to do this. Your grandparents were able to pay for real estate school for all of your cousins, right? And I'm sure not all of your cousins are, as gung ho about real estate and going out there crushing it, but clearly there was something in you where they knew getting behind you was going to be a winner, right? Because you already had your degree, you were already working, you had already bought that first investment. And I say that because a lot of times people are afraid to ask for help. And I don't know if you asked for
Absolutely.
help or they just recognized and gave it to you. But when people see you doing for yourself, they're going to be happy to support you on that journey. And I can't tell you how many times people have just put an arm around me and
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
guided me, especially early on when I had no idea what I was doing, and just guided me and said, "Hey, man, you probably don't want to do that. You should look at this, or hey, you should go talk to this guy, or hey, you know what? Here's a lease agreement, or here's this
Right.
document, or make sure
Yeah.
you look at this." And you need some of that, especially when you're new and green and full of energy, because you just don't know what you don't know. So to have people guide you, it's so helpful. But they're only going to guide you if you're already taking action. They got to see you
Absolutely. Yeah.
consistently showing up as your best self. If they see that, for me, it's even start with a meetup, right? Just attending a meetup as a guest. But seeing me come every single month, people are like, "Tell me, what are you working on? Okay, how you plan on doing this?" And I had these mentors that just, again, naturally started to guide me along the path. And that's so important starting out, because you can't feel like you're by yourself if you don't have those
Ah, real
resources.
estate is extremely lonely, yeah. And I always say too, bring value to people. Like you just said, you had all these mentors and coaches. I strongly and highly believe in learning from somebody else's mistakes, right? And a lot of times, some of this coaching and stuff can get really expensive, and people don't have the means to be able to afford it. Quality coaching and things of that nature. But I have learned, if you are a valuable resource to people, a valuable asset to them, they may forego, you paying for their mentorship in exchange for, you being a valuable resource to them. Bring them deals, find them deals that they didn't, know had. Make those extra phone calls that they can't make. All those extra things. Give them back some of their time. It pays off tenfold.
I love it. Nicole, great, great
Yeah.
stuff there. You've been able to build a personal brand, being on television as well and doing some other things there. Talk to us about kind of developing that personal brand, especially as you've grown the brokerage firm.
You know what? I honestly, yeah, the crazy thing is, a lot of these things. I'm not going to say they fell in my lap by mistake, right? But they fell in my lap by consistency. By me being consistent. My brand has been a consistent brand of giving value and education. And I didn't start off as saying, hey, that was my brand. I just said, hey, I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to be the most valuable asset and resource to people that I can be. I'm going to give them as much education as possible. And I'm not going to be stingy with it. You know, I'm not going to be stingy with it. I want them to know that I am the most valuable resource that they can ever trust with their real estate need. And again, it just kind of happened by the luck of the draw, but as I grew in my business, I started through coaching and mentorship. I started to understand the importance and the power of your brand identity, and things of that nature. So we really have worked hard to I really have worked hard to shape my brand independently, but more so in our real estate brokerage. We are gung ho to our core values, and some of those are, excellence in everything we do, even with the polished image, right? You have to set the tone of what you want your brand to be and stick to that. And don't deviate away from what your brand identity is, what your culture is, what your core values are, what you believe in, and people will see that. And then they'll want to gravitate and work with you along the lines because your brand aligns with, number one, who you are as a person, and then who they are as a person.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit more, right? So there's obviously a lot of real estate agents out there right now. I know, at least in my markets here, and I believe across the country, it's slowed down a little bit as far as the transactions are concerned.
Mhm.
Talk to us for the real estate agents looking to grow their personal brand, looking to stand out in the marketplace. Give us a tip or two that can help them stand out in their marketplace.
Well, first, you have to understand who your true audience is, and I think a lot of people just do stuff to see what sticks at the wall. I mean, throw things at the wall to see what sticks, and just try to follow trends and everything like that. But you first of all have to understand who your audience is. Who are you talking to? Who's your clientele? And then what do they value the most? And I think once you put out what you give them, you're the most valuable resource to them, they will do business with you. I agree, the market has tremendously slowed down in terms of real estate transactions. I saw a publication yesterday that said 62% of the real estate agents have exited real estate this year alone. That's a heavy hit. And I'm not saying this to brag, but this has been my best real estate year ever. In a market where they're saying, hey, the shift has shifted, transactions are down, values are going down, things like that. This has been my best real estate year ever. But the reason why it has been, again, because I go back to, hey, who am I targeting and how can I be the most valuable resource to them in this market? What are some of the heartaches in this market? High interest rates, right? For sellers, high inventory. People don't want to sell. I mean, I'm sorry, a lot of inventory, right? Not enough buyers in the market. It's transitioned to a buyer's market. People don't want to come off those 3% interest rates to go buy a six, buy at a 6 and 7% interest rate, right? But how do you help the people that truly need to be helping those things? Because here's what I say. No matter what you think, everybody still has a real estate need. And no matter what the interest rates are or what the market condition is, everybody still has a real estate need. It's a matter of who they're going to call when they have that need, right? And they're calling the people that has positioned themselves in this market as experts. They give value. They continuously show up and they're consistent.
Nicole, I was writing a note, but I actually had to just stop and really process what you said because it's really profound. And what you talked about was 62% of the real estate agents have left the market because it's gotten so challenging. But you've actually had your best year. And the reason is because you've been able to add value to the people who are looking for it. And I was just really thinking through that comment because it's really insightful. When everything is good, there's less value to be added because everyone's winning,
Absolutely.
right? People aren't looking for it because everyone's making money. You can throw,
Right.
and in multifamily is very similar, right? Over the last
Hmm.
5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
really 8 to 9 years, if you bought any property, you made money. It was just that simple. You didn't
Right.
need to
Right.
have expert guidance because everybody was doing well. So people weren't really paying that much attention. They just wanted to know the basic things,
One thousand
but
percent.
but you can go out there and do a deal. Well, now that's not the case. People are in deals where they're not penciling. The cash flow is stopped. There's capital costs, and they don't know why. They don't know the mistakes, and now they're leery of how to invest moving forward. And the point you're getting at is now is actually a great time to add value. I have a lot of peers in the multifamily syndication space who are no longer doing multifamily, who are either changing asset classes or going to get a W 2. They're not investing at all. But this is actually a great opportunity, not just for multifamily investors, but for anyone looking to stand out and add value because now there's more of an appetite for it. People are
Right.
trying to find that guidance to navigate this more challenging landscape. Whereas, again, 3 years ago, they maybe weren't as open to it just because it felt like everything worked. So, if
Right.
this is
Right.
something you're doing, make sure you're adding that value. And if I could do a little
Yeah.
plug, we've got a free guide on our website of 7 questions you must ask before investing in apartments. And this is the time to start digging into that stuff because this will save you from some of the challenges and the mistakes that a lot of people fell into over the last couple of years. So you can just get on our website, casmancapital.com/7 questions. But I love that insight because when it comes to value and adding value and standing out, this is where the payoff is
Right,
because if
yeah,
you're
and
helping
telling people
people,
the truth, and
absolutely.
telling them the truth, like in the Houston market right now, speaking of multifamily, just so I do a lot of duplex sales, right?
Hmm.
Duplexes, you can actually purchase them at some of the lowest prices we've seen in Houston right now. But of course, what does that mean for the people that bought them 3, 4, 5 years ago? There's been a correction, right? They're not selling as high as they used to sell, but will it turn around? Possibly, yes, absolutely, right? Are they still a great investment for people that are putting 20% down, that have that, that's going into it with equity 1000%? I just think we just have to look at it case by case. Inventory is higher on the duplex side. I think a lot of people thought that, well, a lot of developers and builders, when the market started correcting and it got harder for them to sell these single family, they said, "Oh, well, we'll move over to duplexes. We'll just start no longer build single family. We'll build duplexes, triplexes and quads, and we'll sell them because people can essentially house hack, right? Live in one side and offset their mortgage payment with the other." But, with the interest rates, it's kind of making it tough on the mortgage payment side. So just kind of looking at all those factors, right? Is investing in real estate still a great investment? Absolutely. Does real estate appreciate, historically appreciate year over year? Absolutely. Will we have these corrections and these shifts from time to time? Possibly. Right. But overall, is it still a decent and solid investment? Yes. But you have to still be strategic with that investment. And I always tell people, especially if you're investing in real estate, please, 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 let's remove these emotions. You know?
I love it,
But
Nicole, and I think the other part too is invest for the long haul. So many
absolutely.
people are investing to get rich quick. Buy a property, flip it in a year or two,
Yeah,
and double your money. And listen, there was certainly a time where you could do that, but going back to the principles, kind of your grandparents laid out, I'm sure they've seen multiple cycles and multiple different economic
absolutely.
situations.
Yeah. Yes.
This is a long term investment, and ultimately,
Yeah.
if you see real estate as an asset that can help you accomplish your long-term financial goals,
Absolutely.
you should be excited for this current cycle because stuff is on discount, right? And I think
Absolutely,
that's
deep
different from a
discounts at
mentality
that,
standpoint.
yes, and this is the time for investors to be buying because you're buying at steep discounts, so if you
Yeah.
have the capacity to do, and it's funny that you mentioned the long haul, real estate being a long-term, a game, and I truly believe in that. My grandparents, I've only seen them sell 1 property, and my
Mm.
grandmother's 88 years old, do I think she, at almost 90, is she starting to, relinquish more properties now? Absolutely. She's either selling them or passing them down to her children, which probably will eventually pass them down to us, and I'll pass them down to my children one day. But it has been a long-term gain for them. I remember one house they bought, she told me she bought it for like $3,000. And
Wow.
that house is still in the family today. And I mean, the rents that she's made off that property, from the purchase 50 years ago, it's paid for itself 10 times, 20 times over, you know?
Right, right. I love it. Listen, this is great stuff. Nicole, I know outside of just investing and helping folks, grow and scale in the real estate game, you also are heavily involved in the nonprofit space as well, particularly with One Mission, in particular, Move In Day Mafia. Can you tell us a little bit more
Mhm.
about kind of the organization and kind of some of the things you do to support?
No, absolutely. So, and you know what? I found Moving Day Mafia one day by just watching TV. And actually, I was listening to TV because I was not watching it. It was this lady that I was taking away back. I heard 2 things. One, I heard foster children, which I'm very passionate about fostering adoption. And then also I heard HBCUs. So I'm like, well, what is this and what do they do? But this lady, when I tell you, she is amazing. She is a ball of fire, and she's I say she has a big, very loud personality. But Moving Day Mafia, essentially what they do is they help children that are transitioning out of the foster care system transition into college. And if you kind of look at these children, a lot of people that's transitioning out of foster care transition with nothing. The clothes they have on their back and maybe a backpack or something like that. They transition with nothing. So you can just imagine someone that doesn't have the capability to be able to furnish themselves with just the basic everyday essentials: toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, things of that nature. You can just imagine how hard it is for them to survive in the collegiate world where you know you need that and so much more. So what Moving Day Mafia does is they help these children. They supply everything that these children need from a physical standpoint to transition into college. So completely providing everything that they need for their dorm rooms, all of their college supplies, computers, things of that nature. Plus, on top of that, they give them a monthly care package so that these children don't have to worry about working, and taking time away from their collegiate studies to just provide the basic necessities for themselves. And I firsthand witnessed what it does. They support children that are moving into HBCUs, and so last year I was able to go volunteer and help the students move into Purdue, my alma mater, and it's just amazing how grateful these children are. And it's funny, it's bringing me to tears because the experience is just, none other. But you would think that, things that we often take for granted, like, hey, I'm going to get up and brush my teeth every day, maybe a struggle for these kids. So it's amazing. It's amazing work. If I can just do a plug for them really quickly, moveitdaymafia.org. They are always accepting money and donations to support these children. The work that they do is absolutely amazing and phenomenal, and I will continue to be a supporter of them.
Nicole, I appreciate it. Sounds like a phenomenal organization, and we
Yeah,
will make sure we put a link to that in the show
thank
notes
you.
for anybody that wants to support. I love it. I love it. And listen, if you want to connect with Nicole, you can find her on IG, Mrs. Nikki Handy, and across you just Google her, Nicole Handy, Houston. You'll come across her, connect with her, tell her you enjoyed this conversation. Right now, we're going to transition to a round of insights. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmoncapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmoncapital.com and click on the mastermind button today. All right, give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
Ooh, failure or apparent failure. I almost lost my company. um, I was a great real estate agent. I knew how to sell real estate like the back of my hand. What I did not know is how to be a real estate brokerage owner. Two totally different things to be a business owner, right? And so we were failing and we were failing fast. The cash was going out much faster than it came in. We did not understand a lot of things in terms of, money management in business. And so, I almost lost the company behind that. I had to bring in coaches pretty quickly, but coaches, real estate coaches, business coaches really saved my business.
I appreciate that. It's definitely a big lesson to learn there. Give us a digital or mobile piece of technology that you would recommend for our listeners.
Honestly, right now it's AI. Understanding AI like the back of your hand. I actually encourage people to go take AI classes, not so much just for minor things like, hey, rewrite this email for me, but things like, hey, help me build out these strategies, help me build out this process, help me build out this system. It's a lot of things you can implement in your business with AI right now.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I thought that book was gonna it's gonna teach me how to smooth over people, right? No, it actually teaches you how to be in the moment with people and how to truly, 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 truly connect with them.
I love it. Classic book, but definitely great reading. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
I wake up at 4:30 in the morning every morning like clockwork. I take the summer off sometimes, but throughout the school year, especially when my kid is in school, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. It is my time to do whatever it is that I need to do to be productive throughout my day. Most of the time, what that looks like is all my emails are cleared out, all my follow-ups are done. My day, anything that I need to work on throughout the day, it's already done and prioritized before the rest of the world wakes up and start bothering me.
I love it. Give us your number one insight for scaling a real estate brokerage firm.
uh, Document every single thing. Have a process and document that process in every single aspect. You should, in your business, you should be able to take your documentation, give it to somebody that's new in your company, and they should be able to execute flawlessly.
I love it. Great stuff there. All right, let's lighten the mood. You are in Houston, a great food city. Give us your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
You know what? Yeah, I get this a lot, and there's so many places to eat in Houston. But I am a native Houstonian. I still love down home Papados Cajun seafood restaurant. Can't go wrong. Consistency. The food is gonna be great and filling every time.
There you go. Papado it is. Listen, great stuff, Nicole. Really enjoyed our conversation. A few things stand out to me. First and foremost, it's the intentionality, right? Sometimes you don't know exactly what you're doing or why you're doing it, but real estate is a powerful tool. It's one of the reasons you're
Absolutely.
listening to the show. And you just got to get started. You just have to take action. Even if you don't know exactly what it is that you're doing, take action. You saw this from your family. You were able to take action, but then also get some assistance from those family members, which allowed you to kind of grow and scale while you were crushing in corporate America, building out kind of your real estate dreams, and then eventually making that transition, which is something I know a lot of our listeners aspire to. So I appreciate you sharing just exactly how you were able to do that, but also just continue to learn, continue to dig in, continue to be a student of the game and educating yourself and also giving back, finding causes that you care about, having other passions besides just making money, helping other young real estate agents, helping the folks with the Move-In Day Mafia organization, just really being a bubbly person, somebody who's really educating our listeners and adding value. And I think that's the main takeaway is just add value to others and good things tend to happen. Again, if you want to connect with Nicole, you can find her at Mrs. Nikki Handy on Instagram. We'll put a link to that in the show notes, as well as just Googling her name, Nicole Handy in Houston. Thanks again for being a great guest and coming on Multifamily Insights. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.